All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Mind Project and GSTEM Hustle Culture Bootcamp. We are so excited to have you all here, and we are super thrilled for you guys to see what we have in store for the next 3 days. My name is Anya Ramani. I am one of the co-founders of the Mind Project, and I work on managing the financial and legal aspects of our team. Additionally, I work with our team to organize an upcoming outreach program and develop informative articles to educate the public about various mental health conditions. Just to give you guys a brief introduction of the Mind Project, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness about mental health and destigmatizing our community. We do so by hosting various webinars with psychiatrists and other renowned mental health advocates, and we believe that mental health services are a resource that should be accessible to everyone. For more information on our team and what we do, feel free to check out our website at mind-project.org. And that being said, I'll pass it on to our other co-founder, Ritika.
Hi everyone, we're so excited to have you all here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come here to learn about hustle culture and the effects of it. My name is Ritika and I'm the CMO of and co-founder of the Mind Project. I work closely to help organize fundraisers and work on marketing tactics to get the word about the Mind Project out there.
Okay, and moving on, we're the second co-sponsors of this event, Girls Empowerment, and we work on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And what we do is we bring all kinds of STEM curriculum, such as this event today about hustle culture, which is a big part of STEM majors and just like STEM and science in general. And so a lot of what we do is surrounding culture. And recently we had the How to Be an ASD Buddy Bootcamp. And this bootcamp is kind of a product of our culture area, but then we also work on STEM. And you may have seen our Intro to Machine Learning or maybe criminal psychology. And those are a lot of the events that we have with psychologists, engineers, CEOs, and people just from across STEM industries to get people acquainted with what STEM is and what the possibilities of what STEM can be. And our goal is to enlarge and kind of maximize your perception of what STEM can be, and in turn create the world's best innovators, leaders, and people. And I am president of Girls Empowerment. What I do is I kind of work on financial management, connections, networking, and things like that. And a lot of the time I am not at events, which is why I'm here today, because this is a very big event, which we'll be getting to next. And Kushi is here today, who is our vice president.
Hi, my name is Kushi. I'm vice president of Girls Empowerment. Yeah, we can get started.
So the breakdown that I mentioned, 3 days. Day one is the intro plus our guest day, which is why you're here today. And you're going to hear from our guest speaker, Disha Srivastava, who is an incoming product manager at Microsoft and was previously software engineering at Liberty Mutual. And you're going to learn more about hustle culture, which is kind of the culture that we talked about, which is very prevalent in STEM areas. And we'll get more into that later. Day two is Notion Day, where I'll walk you through working on mind mapping, productivity, and we'll work on Notion, which is a specific organizational platform, which we created a Notion template for you guys where you can have all this information in organization and put the skills that we talk about to actual use. And on the third day, we're going to work on yoga, and it's group yoga with the instructor. And this instructor will walk you through the benefits of yoga, what yoga is about, what it actually does, the scientific background of yoga. And then we'll get into yoga and we'll actually do yoga as a group.
Silicon Valley hustle culture. Let's get started. So I'm assuming that most of you guys are from the Silicon Valley. If not some, then all of you might actually be familiar with hustle culture and what it is. But the idea of hustle culture is just constantly working and never taking breaks, feeling the need to be celebrated for your accomplishments rather than taking care of yourself physically and mentally. So some examples of hustle culture would be saying, oh yeah, I slept like 2 hours yesterday. What'd you get on the test? Did you see X has an internship? I bet their parents got it for them. How many APs are you taking? OMG, I got a 95%. I am such a failure. What summer programs did you get into? these types of things can mentally affect you and other people around you. So rather than saying these, you could say, I didn't sleep much yesterday, I will sleep more today. Instead of saying, what'd you get on the test? Just don't ask that at all. Hey X, I'm looking for internships. Do you have any advice? What classes are you taking? I'm not happy with my grade. Got any plans for this summer?
Okay, so we know that hustle culture can give you a lot of anxiety. Anxiety is basically the abnormal and overwhelming sense of apprehension and fear. People with anxiety disorders frequently have intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. So the signs of anxiety, oftentimes they're marked by physical signs like tension, sweating, shaking hands, shivering, and increased pulse rates. Some mental signs include overthinking, panic, fear, worry, all that. So everyone can experience anxiety, but everyone experiences it at varying amounts. So usually it interferes with daily activities, they're difficult to control, it's out of proportion to the actual danger and can last a long time. So you may want to avoid places or situations to prevent these feelings. And symptoms may start during childhood or the teen years and continue into adulthood.
Okay, so next up, related to hustle culture, we have stress. And a lot of us have commonly heard about stress in our day-to-day lives, but it's really important for us to understand what stress really is. So it's how the brain and body respond to any demand. There are three main types of stress. And like I said earlier, stress affects everyone. There are a lot of people that you may not just see it on their face, but oftentimes there is a lot of stress in people's daily lives. So the first type of stress that we're going to be going over is routine stress, which is related to the pressures of school, work, family, and other daily responsibilities. So oftentimes, if you know that you have a lot of recurring tests or if you have a lot of homework, that stress can tend to build up into something that once again is called routine stress. The second type of stress is negative stress, which is brought about by a sudden negative change, such as losing a job, a divorce, or an illness. So if there's a loss of a loved one or just a very sudden change that occurs in your life, that can inflict a lot of stress onto your own mind, your own body, and that can definitely take a toll on yourself. And this is referred to as negative stress, and it's definitely something to look out for. The last type of main stress that we're going over, while there are many more, is traumatic stress, which is experienced during an event such as a major accident, war, assault, or a natural disaster. This type of stress is most commonly referred to as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's really important for us to understand these various types of stress to understand how to target each kind. So the founder of the stress theory, Hans Selye, has a very common quote saying, it's not stress that kills us, but our reaction to it. So we just wanted to give this to you guys as a little bit of food for thought for today.
Methods to manage stress. So the first way to manage stress is yoga. Yoga is an exercise and it modulates stress response in your stress response system by reducing heart rate and lowering blood pressure. Breathing exercises that force your body to calm down and allow you to relax. They're helpful for anxiety and depression, and they help manage symptoms. It's a low risk and high yield approach to improving your overall health. And that's why we'll be doing yoga day. And you can join us to learn about this method.
A proper diet is really, really important to manage stress and anxiety. So some examples of some foods that can actually help you with that is magnesium-rich foods such as leafy greens and nuts. They can help you feel more calmer on the inside. Zinc-rich foods such as cashews and egg yolks have been linked to lower anxiety rates. And probiotic-rich foods such as pickles are linked with fewer anxiety symptoms. Enhancing diet with antioxidant-rich foods help you ease symptoms of anxiety disorders. So, big question, is sleeping a flex? No, sleeping less is not a flex. Sleep is essential for our bodies. So next time you hear a friend brag about their bad sleeping schedule and how they didn't sleep much last night, check them and tell them, hey, you should actually sleep more because sleeping more is actually more of a flex. Getting proper sleep is so, so, so important. If you don't get the proper sleep, you may develop mental disorders such as insomnia, depression, and anxiety. If you feel or if you know a friend who has continued fatigue or grogginess, these are signs of mental illness and not enough sleep.
Okay, so exercise. Simple sports and exercises such as jogging, dancing, cycling, or more increase blood circulation to the brain. This activates the limbic system, which controls motivation and mood, and overall improves your well-being. Okay, so time. You want to stick to the allotted time. Be mindful of everyone's schedules. Preparing an agenda easily fulfills this objective too.
Okay, so we just went over a couple of common ways to manage stress, and another really common way is art therapy. So I know personally speaking for myself, whenever I get stressed, I just like to grab a paper and just doodle because it just helps me transfer whatever's going on to my mind into paper. So this is basically what art therapy is. So how you do it is you create with clay, paints, and other visual arts media, and then therapists use art therapy to see what the patient's artwork represents. Because, like I said, when you doodle onto the paper, there's often an underlying meaning, and therapists are really good at their job, and they use this to kind of analyze what that meaning is and how to better cater to their patients. Why art therapy is done is to ease the symptoms of a wide range of mental health challenges. So, eating disorders, anxiety, Alzheimer's disease, and depression are just the brink of the iceberg, and art therapy helps with a lot more. So some common things that art therapy helps are neuropsychiatric symptoms. It helps raise self-esteem and improve social behavior.
Another important thing to reduce stress and anxiety is having a positive mindset. Having a positive mindset throughout your day and your life in general is so important. Fixing your mindset to think positive thoughts rather than negative thoughts will give you so much more motivation to go forward through your day. Here's some examples to think about. So, when you think to yourself, I can't do this, you want to change your mindset and say, I'll do the best I can. I've got this. Everything is going wrong. I can handle this if I take it one step at a time. I hate when this happens to me. I know how to deal with this. I've done it before. I feel helpless and alone. I can reach out and get help if I need it. I can't believe I screwed up. I'm human and we all make mistakes. I can fix it.
So with that background information, now introducing our guest speaker, Disha Srivastava. She is ex-software engineering at Liberty Mutual. She now works in product management at Microsoft, and she is a UMass Amherst CICS Computer Information and Computer Science career mentor.
Dang, you gave away like all my information in one slide. Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
You can start sharing. I will stop.
All right. In the meantime, can everyone, like even the host, can you guys all put in the chat what schools you're from and maybe what year you are? Like if you're a freshman, sophomore, senior, that would be helpful. Okay, Doherty Valley, Wilcox High School. Cool, I've never heard of that one before. Dublin. Oh, a lot of Wilcox. What city is that? Can someone put that in the chat? Someone from Wilcox? Another Doherty Valley. Oh, Santa Clara. Nice. Oxford Academy. Where is that? I've never heard of that either. Okay, a lot of Doherty Valley kids. Tompkins High School. Another Tompkins. Cool. Okay, awesome. Sounds like we have a good mix, and it seems like mostly everyone's from the Bay Area, which explains why you're here. So great job on being proactive and trying to get out of hustle culture. Okay, so let's get started. It looks like we have like 30-ish minutes. So we'll try to go through the PowerPoint, and then if anyone has any questions at the end about literally anything, we can probably go through that at the end. So why nonstop hustle culture is a joke you shouldn't fall for. That's what we're going to try to discover today. Okay, so a little bit about me. I know Alicia already gave an introduction, but hopefully you can think of me as someone, if you're a freshman, maybe like fast forward 8 years in the future yourself, because I also went to Doherty Valley. So I know kind of exactly what you're going through. You might have different teachers and different clubs, but I'm from that same pool. I graduated in class of 2018, so pretty recent, but might seem like a lifetime ago to some of you, especially if you're a freshman. So I was really part of a club called DECA when I was in high school, which I found out that isn't at Doherty Valley anymore, which is really, really sad. And then I went to the opposite side of the country at UMass Amherst to study data science and economics. And then I was a software engineering intern at Liberty Mutual. And then I realized I don't love to code for the rest of my life. So I ended up making a switch to product management. And if anyone has any questions about what product management is, feel free to ask at the end. And now this summer, I'm going to be at Microsoft. Okay, so today's agenda. It sounds like we already got a good idea on what hustle culture is. So let's do a quick little checklist to see how many of us are actually being involved in hustle culture. And then we'll talk about maybe a little bit more of what it does to you and how you can pull yourself out of it. So I'm hoping for this session to be a bit more interactive than just all of us listening to me speak. So here are some side effects of nonstop hustle culture. Lack of sleep, we spoke about that. Headaches, feelings of mental burnout where maybe you're just turning in assignments at this point and you're not actually learning anything. You believe your worth is determined by how many hours you put in. So if you don't work for like 40 hours a week, or if you take Saturday off, you believe that something bad is going to happen. You won't do as well next week on tests and things like that. You don't feel up to making it to school every day. This is a big one I used to have when I was at DVHS. I would always be looking for a reason to not have to go to class the next day. This is one I know Alicia is guilty of. We're sisters, if you couldn't tell. She checks LinkedIn more regularly than any other social media app. So if you do that too, that's another hustle culture symptom. If self-care is just a face mask to you and you don't actually do any real self-care, like emotionally, mentally, things like that. If you're constantly comparing yourself to others, if you spend more time in front of a screen than not, and if you're trying to compete with anyone and everyone, even though you genuinely would rather not. So tally up how many of these you think that you do on a regular basis and drop it in the chat. And let's see how many we all come up with. And there's no shame in this. I definitely did like all 10 when I was in high school. Oh wait, I lost the chat. Oh, found it. Oh my gosh. Okay, all 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, 8, 4. Oh my God, what's your secret? 7. Okay, so it seems like we have like a balanced amount with a couple of outliers. You do check, yeah, that's like a vacuum that you get stuck into, checking LinkedIn. And 7. Okay, so thanks for all the honest responses, guys. Okay, so let's think about why these things happen. Why do we fall into all of these 10 different symptoms? Why do we compare ourselves to each other? Why do we go on LinkedIn more than we do on Instagram or other places we could be? And I recently came across this analogy, which I think really explains it really well. So picture a mirror. Picture a mirror where you see yourself every single day. Maybe you see how you look, you validate that you look energized, you look awake. And the mirror could also represent your soul and your mind and your body, which tells you maybe what you're passionate about, what you're excited about, what your likes and dislikes are, what do you genuinely care about? Do you care about animals? Do you care about finance? Do you care about economics? Do you not care about any of that and you just want to be a farmer or you want to live and go backpacking across Europe or something like that? But that identity that you have and that clear mirror that tells you exactly who you are and what you want to do in your freshman year of high school, when you're just go, 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 you go to class, you go to soccer practice, you go to I used to go to DECA practice, whatever you guys have, FBLA, speech and debate, you enter into this complete rut where you're going to work, then you're coming home, you might have an hour break, and then you're going back to work again. And a layer of dust gets added to that mirror. A layer of dust gets added to your mind, your body, and your soul. And maybe those priorities that you once had that you knew were really important to you, you can't see them anymore. So freshman year goes by, you add a little bit of dust to your soul, to that mirror that was your like your North Star metric, but you can't see it anymore. So now you enter into sophomore year, you're already kind of used to this hustle culture. You're taking more AP classes now. You have an officer position in the club that you're working on freshman year. So now the hustle culture gets even more serious, and another layer gets added onto your mirror, and it becomes even harder to see yourself. You don't know what your priorities are. You don't know what makes you actually happy because you're just stuck in this 9 to 5 grind of going to work, going to your extracurriculars, and then going back to doing whatever it is that you need to do. And this cycle just continues to go on and on and on to the point where you can't even see yourself in that mirror anymore. So that mirror that represents your soul and tells you, it validates who you are, it validates what your priorities are, what genuinely makes you happy, you might not be able to see it anymore. So that's what hustle culture is. You continuously keep going through this daily grind without stopping to see if this really makes me happy and this is what I really want to do. And the dust, which is a result from that hustle culture, really covers up everything you really wanted. And then you become a pool of all your other classmates, or everyone's just going to class, everyone's going to work, and everyone's kind of becoming the same. So remedies, how the hell do we figure out how to not fall into this rut? And I think that's what our goal is today. So finding a balance between working hard and burning out. Okay, so this is kind of what, if you said at least above a 3 or a 5, that maybe your balance beam looks like right now. You have working hard, which is when you're working on something that you're really passionate about. You really care about this class. You really care about this project that you're working on. And so devoting time and hours to that project really make a difference to you. On the other hand, maybe you're taking a push, or you're taking AP government, or you're taking AP bio, but you genuinely don't care about biology, or you don't care about history, but you're still having to put in 7 to 9 hours a week to do well in this class. Or you're doing speech and debate, but you don't actually care about speech and debate, but you're still having to put in 9 hours of work every week in order to do your projects in speech and debate. That's more overworking yourself rather than working hard, because you're not genuinely working towards a goal that you actually care about. You're only working towards a goal that you think you really have to do. And when you're overworking yourself, that's when you start to experience the symptoms that we talked about earlier in the session, like lack of sleep, burnout, maybe feelings of unhappiness, or feeling like you're not enough. Even if you work for Sunday and Saturday, you don't feel like you're doing enough. So our goal is to balance the beam so that what you're working hard on overpowers your overworking on things that you're not passionate about. And there's many different ways to try to balance this. There's a couple of obvious ones, like practice genuine self-care. Like if you work for 5 hours, take a 1 hour break. Spend more time outdoors after you've been on your computer screen for 10 hours in a day. Go outside and look at something green. Don't procrastinate. Don't take 5,000 AP classes, which are really obvious ones. But I think one thing that I wish I knew when I was a junior, senior at Doherty Valley was everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be financially stable, but nobody knows how they want to do it in a way that's going to make them happy. Everybody thinks that I need to be a computer science major, I need to be a bio major, or I need to go to this school, but nobody knows, what do I actually want to do with my degree? What do I want to do after I'm done with college? What actually makes me happy? And if you don't find that in high school, you don't find that in college, it's really tough to find it after you've graduated. So find what matters. And what matters to you is not what's going to matter to Alicia or what's going to matter to Cushy. It's only going to matter to you. So how do you find that? How do you find that burning passion inside of you? Because if you can find what matters to you and you can tie a career to what you're genuinely passionate about, then you'll never be overworked. You'll only be working hard, because you'll know that there is a certain limit that I can devote to this, and you'll know that it feels like enough because you have that passion and you have that drive for a good reason. Just gonna quickly check the chat. Okay, good. Okay, so how do you find what matters? I know there's a lot of text and a lot of information on this slide, so if you want to take a picture or if the host can send this out afterwards, that would be super helpful. So there's a couple different ways that you can try to find what matters. It's definitely not easy. I'm like a sitting example of that. I started out as a computer science major at UMass. In my second year, I realized there's no way in hell I want to do this. This is not for me. It's not fun at all. Switched my major, switched my career from software engineering to product management, which, if you know anyone in the industry, is kind of hard to do. So you're not alone if you don't know what you want to do yet, but I would push you and encourage you to start doing that. If you have a lot of classes going on, you have a lot of AP projects, you got summer programs, try to devote 1 day a week to doing the research that's listed on this slide that we'll get into, to trying to find what matters to you. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I think is really important to do is divide it into mentally, emotionally, and physically. So mentally, research yourself. What classes do I actually enjoy? Do I enjoy economics versus AP Bio? Do I enjoy calculus over statistics? Because those are two different career paths, bio versus econ and stats versus calc. And then ask yourself emotionally, what classes give me the most stress and steer me away from learning? What classes are the ones that are driving you towards Chegg or driving you towards asking a friend to copy their homework? It might not be that you just don't get the material, maybe you just don't physically or emotionally bond with this and you genuinely don't care about AP chemistry, which is really understandable. So establish a baseline in your academics of what matters to you. Ask yourself which classes you enjoy. Are there classes that you genuinely like going to, their lecture and things like that? And then are there classes that when you see there's a homework assignment, you feel drained and you look for ulterior resources to try to get that assignment done? And then physically, research by going to actual communities where you can find people. So groups like Girls Who Code, Miss CEO, FBLA, Speech and Debate, other organizations where you can learn not what test scores people had to get into certain positions or what your profile was that you got you into like XYZ college. More like at Girls Who Code, they have a program where you can spend a summer working at a specific company. For example, I was at Twitter in 2015 and we spent 7 weeks on each week working on something different. So 1 week we were working on software engineering. The other week we were working on robotics. The other week we were actually working on product management. So you get to immerse yourself in all these different roles. And then at the end of the summer, you realize, okay, robotics was not for me. Design was not for me. And that leaves me with software engineering and product management. And maybe those are two things that I can look into further. With speech and debate, you're sometimes on the offense, you're sometimes on the defense. That might help you figure out whether you want to be a lawyer or maybe you want to be a researcher. Maybe there was a certain topic in speech and debate that you were assigned to that was really interesting to you, like fighting corporations against carbon emissions, or maybe do MUN and see, was there a certain country that you really enjoyed modeling for? So things like that, where you really just put yourself out there and then go back to the whole assessing yourself mentally and emotionally. Which weeks in Girls Who Code did I enjoy? Which weeks gave me the most stress and made me feel like I don't want to go? And when you start doing that genuine self-care where you're reflecting and you're actually understanding how you're responding to your classes, your programs, everything that you're doing, that's when you'll start to find what matters to you. And the sooner you can find what matters to you, the better off you will be. I have so many friends from Doherty Valley, all of us, who went to college and realized we don't know what the hell we want to do. And that was a really big struggle, trying to figure out while you're taking classes, while you're already in a major, what we want to do. So if you can try to take time to figure that out in high school, your future self will thank you later. Okay, so another one, outside of research, start reaching out. Reach out to family, friends. While you're spending time on LinkedIn, I would recommend going to Doherty Valley High School's page and you can look at the alumni. If I think you can if it's listed as a school. And I'm sure any Doherty Valley alumni or any high school that you've been to, if you reach out to the alumni, they would be more than happy to speak with you. If anyone has any questions about SWE versus PM or Liberty Mutual or Microsoft, feel free to reach out after this call. And since we've been in your shoes, we are more than happy to help you out. Because I do remember what it's like being in high school and really not knowing what you want to do, but it seems like everyone else is doing this one thing, so you kind of just go with that because that's what looks safe. So alumni have been where you have been, so I would highly recommend reaching out to high school alumni on LinkedIn. Instead of just doomsday scrolling and seeing what other people are doing, take action, reach out to people, ask them how can you share what your experience was, and make the most of those coffee chats, not by asking them what XYZ experience did you do which got you to this position, but more asking them, how did you figure out that this is what you wanted to do? Why is it that you're doing this? And why are you not doing this? So if you're working in finance, why are you not working in healthcare instead? And they might have a really good answer for you. They might share that I found myself wanting to live on the East Coast, and most of the financial companies are on the East Coast. So I would say really reach out to alumni and try to see what their path ended up being after they left your high school. And they might surprise you with how helpful they would be. Another one is working on a passion project. So working on a hackathon, a research paper, a science experiment, something that speaks to you emotionally. By passion, I don't mean what you think would get you into college, but what you think would make you happy. So if you really care about the COVID spike in the state of California, all the data is open sourced. So you could essentially go and see, were there gender minorities or there racial minorities that specifically suffered during the pandemic? Were they given, and then you could go and get the economic data relief data on, I think the US government has all of their economic data open source as well. And you could compare and see these racial groups suffered the most, were they given the most help by the government? And that would be an amazing passion project if you're interested in economics. Another thing you could do is like a research paper if you're really passionate about like stopping animal testing. Maybe look into ulterior ways that people could test the vaccines or test skincare products so that animals don't have to perish through that. So you don't need to find the answer to that. Nobody expects you to find the answer to that. But take that initiative, do that paper, experiment on things, look at research. And if you end up deciding that college is the right path for you and you decide to apply, that's also a great thing to include in your application. So I think doing these types of things, like reaching out to alumni, asking yourself what you like, and looking at passion projects, hopefully that will help you find what you enjoy. If you do this economic research paper and you look, okay, I don't care what is going on here, this is way too much for me to handle, then you know an econ major is not for you. If you try to do the science experiment, you're like, I honestly, this is for somebody else, not for me. Now you know, let me go test out something else. Maybe something else is for me. And I think that's really, really important. And I wish that I had done that more in high school. The last thing I would say is find a buddy who has similar interests as you. This doesn't need to be someone from your friend group. And I would actually say find someone outside of your friend group who you either ran into at a club meeting, or maybe somebody who's attending this meeting today, since we know that everyone here is trying to get out of hustle culture, and sign up for conferences together. If you're interested in tech, go to a tech conference. If you're interested in women empowerment, go to a women empowerment event together. And the people that you'll meet at such events, the information that you'll get at such events can be really, really empowering. So, especially while we're all sitting at home right now, there's no reason to block yourself off and not go to such events because everything's virtual. You can be sitting in bed and go and look at these amazing resources. So, at the bottom of the screen, there's a couple of examples. For example, if you're interested in music, you spend all your time on Spotify instead of LinkedIn, then maybe consider working at companies like Dolby, which I'm not sure if a lot of you have heard of, but they have a huge, massive office in San Francisco, and it's actually right next to Twitter, where I was for Girls Who Code, so we used to visit all the time. And it's just a bunch of people sitting in the office listening to music, thinking about how they can make the quality of the music better, how they can make the experience of you listening to that music better. And it's amazing. So if you're interested in music, that's something to look into. That's a wonderful career to have. Even like Spotify, they're always coming up with such new exciting features, like how those end of the year rewind is literally a cultural effect. Everyone is sharing what their end of the year rewind was. It's a personality thing now. You could get to know someone just by looking at their Spotify Wrapped. So things like that. If you're really excited about music, go look into the music industry. There's so many different resources now. Before you had to be a rapper or a singer to get into music. Now you don't. If you genuinely like video games, consider Microsoft, consider Xbox. These companies hire insane amounts of people. And actually, if you're an Xbox intern, like Microsoft hires interns and you get placed on teams. And if you get placed on the Xbox team, you get a free Xbox. So they really, really love people who are passionate about what they're working on. So if you love video games, look into that. Your passions don't need to be hobbies. They can be what you genuinely want to do in life. Um, we talk about the replacing animal testing. If you care about ethics, there's so many other things you can do other than being an ethicist or being a lawyer. You can stop tech companies from violating all these crazy privacy laws. If you care about telling stories, look into journalism. Journalism today is not writing an essay and having it being published in the newspaper. The New York Times is one of the most amazing data visualizations I've ever seen, and I'm a data science major. So you can work in journalism and still work on really, really exciting things. And you could do journalism about the finance industry, about the tech industry, about healthcare, about the vaccines. There's so much. So if you're a teller of stories and you enjoy creating ways for people to be informed, maybe that's something that you should look into. If you care about finance, maybe you care about helping small businesses empower their transactions, someplace like Square. So I think it's really important to sometimes step back, wipe your mirror clean, remove all the dust from the years of hustling, the years of just working 9 to 5, and really try to see yourself in that mirror again. What matters to you? What makes you happy? Because those things don't have to be different from what your career is. And I really hope that's the one thing that you're able to take away from this session today. And some other resources, a lot of the stuff that I talked about today is from this book called Think Like a Monk. So if anyone is interested in adding more reading to, I'm sure you guys already have a lot to read in high school, search up Think Like a Monk. It's a pretty good book. And speaking of stopping tech companies from violating privacy laws, if you're interested in ethics and sociology and that sort of thing, there's this great documentary on Netflix called Social Dilemma, which I would highly recommend checking out. Like, you will not pick up TikTok or Facebook ever again, but it's worth watching. And then there's also this article on my college's website called Decide What Matters, which has a lot of resources on figuring out what to do, because we have all these kids coming to college not knowing what the hell they want to do. And that's actually a quote that's on there right now from the careers office where I work, where our director of careers say, many students answer, what kind of job do you want, with anything or software engineer, which is really counterintuitive because we can't help you find a job if you don't even know what you want to do. So take the time in high school to really step back, clean your mirror, see yourself again. And if you can find what matters, then you can balance that beam again. You can go back to just working hard and not overworking yourself. You won't take 5,000 APs because at that point you'll say, I don't care about AP government. I'm not going to take this class. I'm going to take regular government. And maybe I'll make up for it by taking a class I'm really interested in at our local community college, or doing a research paper, or doing something that I actually care about. And I hope that really sends home, because finding what matters is something I really wish I knew in high school. And remember that I'm actually just you, maybe like 4 or 5 years in the future. I went to Doherty Valley, I'm from the Bay Area, and I really did go through the same struggles that you might be going through today. Okay, so this is the last quote that I want to leave you with. I think it's phenomenal that every single one of you are here to try to come out of hustle culture, and that you have taken the steps to recognize that there is something wrong with working nonstop, and these feelings of burnout, these feelings of not feeling enough are not normal. But it is a vacuum. Everyone gets sucked into it. And I know like 24 people on a Zoom call isn't going to solve anything. It's going to be a much larger movement that has to take place all across the Bay Area. It's really funny. Like when I tell my East Coast friends in Massachusetts about our experiences here in the Bay Area, they are shocked. They've never heard of a high school where at graduation, everyone's GPAs are in the pamphlet for graduation and everyone's academic awards are given in front in a pamphlet where everyone can see how well you did. They were absolutely like blown away. So these types of things are not normal. This doesn't happen in other places in the country. It only happens here. This concept of hustle culture, this concept of being fiercely competitive. And it's really sad. And I encourage you to go out of the Bay Area's culture and maybe do programs like Girls of Code, go abroad, go to other states for college so that you can see what other places are like. So I think a quote that really explains this vacuum that we all get sucked into really well is, I am not who you think I am. I am not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So take a second if that sounds confusing. Essentially, what it's trying to say is that my perception of myself is so clouded that it's not even reflective of what I think of myself. It's not even reflective of what you really think of me, but it's what I think you think of me, which is complete fabrication. There's no way for me to know what you think of me, but my entire perception of myself is based on what the other person in the room is thinking of me. And that explains hustle culture. I always think that someone else is working harder than me, or someone else got a better grade than me, or someone else got a better internship or better position than me. But it doesn't matter. As long as I'm doing what is enough for me, should be good enough, should give me happiness. So I know it's not going to be just 20 people on a Zoom call that can solve this problem, but just try to be a part of the solution. Don't ask people how many AP classes are you taking. Don't ask people if you got an officer position. Instead of letting someone copy the homework, take 30 minutes and say, you know what, let me help you. We can work through this together and I'll teach you how to do it. And I know that this is not easy to do. I'm from the class of 2018 and we definitely did not solve this problem. But I do hope that in the future years that it gets better, because I feel like this is not an ideal high school experience where everyone's competitive and everyone's trying to see who's doing what. And it's also not normal. No other state has ridiculousness like this. So that's my parting thought with you guys. No pressure, but I think that you can solve this problem of hustle culture. Thanks, guys. That's it for me. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime.
We can set up the Q&A session.
Oh, sorry, what? You got cut out.
Okay, I think we were just setting up a really quick Q&A session.
Oops. Yeah, Q&A session.
That's a good question. And actually, they asked me that in my interview. So when I think why Microsoft, one thing that comes back to me, which was earlier on the slide, was ethics. When you look at the tech industry today, and if you watch The Social Dilemma, a lot of the companies like Amazon, Facebook, it's hard to tell who's the lesser of two evils. Amazon with their union problem, Facebook with every single problem that they have. I really wanted to work at a company where I know I'm putting 40 hours a week, I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears into. I want to know that I'm actually creating good in the world. I think it's a responsibility for every single person, no matter what field you go into, that you know that you're creating good. If you're going to work and you know the technology that you're creating is harmful and it is not going to help people, then you should not be happy working there. You should not be happy taking a paycheck from them. So I think that's what really mattered to me, that Microsoft genuinely cares about the world. They care about their employees. And I'm actually on the cybersecurity unit, so I know that I'm working on safety and I'm working on security and I'm actually creating good. What exactly is product management? Good question. So every company has a product manager for a specific feature. So for example, if you're a PM at Twitter, you might be in charge of notifications. Like, do you get notified when someone shares your tweet? Do you get notified when someone likes your tweet? Or at, let's say YouTube, you might be in charge of reactions to videos. So you can like a video, or you can dislike a video, or you can leave a comment. So a product manager's job starts with meeting actual customers. So a Twitter product manager would meet people who actually use Twitter and ask them, how's the notification system working for you right now? Are you getting enough notifications? Are you not getting enough notifications? And then they take the customer feedback and come up with new ideas that are in line with whatever the company is trying to achieve right now. Like, for example, maybe Twitter's job right now is to increase revenue. So the product manager would come up with features, like new technology to create, which would A, solve the customer problem, and B, help Twitter earn more money. And then once you identify a problem, the PM works with software engineers to build it. They work with designers to design it. They work with the legal team to make sure that the entire thing is legal. And then they work with the marketing team to actually market the feature. So a PM wears a lot of different hats, but you're essentially in charge of one product and you have to see it from start to finish. And the cool part is that you get to work with a lot of cool people. So in software engineering, you're only building the product, but with PMs, you're marketing the product, you're making sure it's legal, you're designing the product, all of the cool things. Best interview tips. That's another good question. I would say practice, practice, practice. If you have a behavioral interview, practice it with a friend. Tell me about a time when X happened. Tell me about a time when you failed. Tell me about a time when you worked on something innovative. What did you do and what were the results? Practicing mock interviews is really, really helpful. And another thing, which when people used to say to me, I used to be like, shut up, have fun. Interviewers can tell when you are just giving the interview to give the interview. If you're having fun in your interview and you're excited to solve the problems, like in my interview, I got asked a question like, design a data visualization tool for insurance companies. That was so fun. Like, it was so fun because I worked at an insurance company a summer before. So I loved that question. So if you're really, really excited about the job and about the position that you're applying for, bring that excitement into your interview. And I think that's what will blow people away. What about software engineering did you like, and what ended up making you realize you didn't want to do it? You guys are all asking me questions they asked me in my actual interview. So if anyone's been to a hackathon before, I was super involved with organizing hackathons in my high school. I was part of the founding team for Superposition, which I think has really taken off now, which is amazing. And when I went to college, I was part of the founding team for the all women's hackathon there. And that was a really, really cool experience, being a part of directing an entire hackathon, because you have a marketing team, which is in charge of getting the word out. We had a tech team, which was in charge of creating our hackathon software. We had a logistics team. We had a legal team from our college. We had a finance team. So directing that whole orchestra and making sure that all the pieces fit together and it made music was what showed me that I don't want to just be one small component like software engineering, building the product. I want to see everything together. I want to see the big picture. I want to see the long game. And I really enjoyed working with different types of people, which is what made me switch. But what I liked about software engineering was it was really cool solving problems. At Liberty Mutual, even though it was an insurance company, I was pleasantly surprised by how well efficient the engineering unit was. We had amazing clients and really, really fun projects to work on. So I think if you enjoy solving problems, you should definitely be a software engineer because that's what they do on a daily basis and it is a lot of fun. What was it like being president of a club? What did you have to prepare for? I think it's fun because you get to make mistakes, you get to have successes, and you learn a lot. And I would say that everyone should try to get more involved, whatever club that you might be in. Try to become an officer position and take some more responsibility just so that you can see what it's like to be in charge of marketing or outreach. But I think being president of a club, actually, the biggest thing that I learned was not even related to the club, but to the team. It is really hard to keep your team motivated. And motivation for a club or any types of initiative comes from the president. So it's really important to make sure that you keep your officers and your entire team motivated. And I think that's what was the big thing that I learned. And there's no way to prepare for it. Should I pursue a major in a topic that's going to help me for an exam or in a topic I enjoy? So I would say in a topic that you enjoy. Like I said earlier, I was a computer science major and I thought that would help me prepare for coding assessments and things like that, which it did. But those were just part of the hiring process, similar to the MCAT, which is just to get into the med school. I think that you should pursue a topic that you really do enjoy. Like maybe you don't care about biology in specific, but maybe you care more about like biostats or you care more about like biomedical engineering, things like that. Look for what you enjoy because that's what's going to hold out in the long run. Computer science would not have held out for me in the long run because it wasn't what I enjoyed. What I've noticed is that it isn't just the students that are immersed. There are a lot of parents and adults that, oh yeah, definitely force their kids into 5,000, okay, much more than 5,000 AP classes. What are your tips to balance stress in this type of situation? Yeah, that's really tough. I would say I'm so sorry that anyone who is going through that, I know that's really stressful. Just hang in there. Try to tell your parents that this is not what makes me happy. You're pushing me to the limit that I really can't handle. And I do believe that parents do have their best interests in their kids' heart, and maybe that's why they're pushing them to take so many classes. But I think it has to come as like a cultural shift. Like your parent might speak to you and say, okay, you're not doing all right, that's fine. And then go speak to another parent and hear, oh, XYZ got into this school by doing 5,000 AP classes. And then they'll come back to you and say, no, 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 you have to take this many classes. I heard from so and so that you have to. So I think this is a problem that's bigger than just one student. And hopefully like we can get parents out to some sort of hustle culture boot camp. Like maybe if you guys can do this for the parents next time, I think that would be more impactful than doing it for the students. Thanks, Emily. What's the difference between your cybersecurity and data science? Honestly, I think that's yet to find out, and I will get back to you after the summer. But the cool part about Microsoft that I found out during the interview process was they hire hackers to hack Microsoft systems. And after the hackers hack them, if they're successful, they go and do like an incident report and see like what went wrong. And then as a data scientist, I would look at, well, I'm a product manager there, but with my data science background, I would look at the data like, okay, what went wrong? At what time did it go wrong? At what step did it go wrong? And then we would create solutions to try to remediate that so that if anyone actually tries to hack us, we would be able to stop them. So it is a pretty cool, interesting unit. And it's something that's really relevant today. If anyone's heard of the SolarWinds hack, or a couple months ago when Twitter was hacked by actually I think it was a customer service rep that got paid off to give their credentials. So it's a really, really interesting ball game. If anyone's interested, I would recommend looking into the Twitter hack and the SolarWinds hack. I think that's all the questions.
Okay, yeah, and right on time. Okay, awesome. And then let's see. So for tomorrow, we have, first of all, productivity tools. We'll be going through mind mapping, action items, and making the best use of team meeting times with applications. And we'll also be looking at a very special project of ours, our Notion workspace, which is a positive productivity workspace. And we'll be working on ways to be the most productive, organizing everything that you need to work on, whether it's your thoughts, your projects, your ideas, your schedule, your schoolwork, research projects, pretty much everything. And that's what we have in store tomorrow. So I hope to see you there. And for your exit ticket, drop the most inspiring thing that from today in the chat. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you so much to everyone who came.